Good morning. Let's start the daily development discussion. The first topic is RBI tightens capital norm for unsecured loans, including growth and issue arising from it. Okay. So the Reserve Bank of India, the central bank and the ultimate money market regulator and controller of credit, has recently raised the risk weight on bank exposure in order to monitor unsecured loans such as the credit card receivables and personal loans. The capital to risk weighted asset ratio (CRAR) requirement for banks that lend to this category is being raised by the RBI through decision to increase the risk weight on unsecured loans. Unsecured loans are those loans which have much risk and there is no collateral guarantee on them, like the credit card, the personal loans, the unsecured loans. A loan that can be obtained without requiring security is known as unsecured loan. Based on a borrower's creditworthiness, the lender issue it. Because this is purely given to the lenders by the financial institutions based on his or her creditworthiness. So he or she is creditworthy, realizing that, so this is given. Okay. So a loan that can be obtained without requiring security is known as an unsecured loan. Based on a borrower's creditworthiness, the lender issues. Therefore, being approved for an unsecured loan requires having a high credit score for the customers. If a customer want to get an unsecured loan, he must have high credit scores in the CIBIL list. What is capital adequacy ratio? CAR. Capital adequacy ratio is a measure of a bank's available capital exposed as a percentage of a bank's risk-weighted credit exposures. The capital adequacy ratio, also known as the capital to risk-weighted asset ratio, is used to protect depositors and promote the stability and efficiency of financial system around the world. What is the risk weight on bank exposure? To put it simply, risk weight on bank exposure is a method used by regulators like the central bank or the financial supervisory authority to evaluate the risk associated with different kinds of assets that the bank holds. Bank hold different assets. What is the risk with specific assets? Okay. Assets are the deposits kept with the banks. This technique establishes the amount of capital that banks must hold against these assets as a safety net in case of losses, because assets for the bank are the deposits kept by the people. They are the okay. So they are the liability. Okay. The loans given by the banks are the assets, because from the loans the bank generate income. So different loans given by the banks are the asset for the bank, and so for giving a loan, how much security the bank has kept is also another risk-weighted asset, because asset is a loan given by the banks. Loans are the asset of the bank, but in case the loans become default, so what asset the bank has kept to protect it, that is called the risk-weighted asset. This technique establishes the amount of capital that bank must hold against these assets, means loans, as a safety net in the case of losses. The risk weights assigned to various asset categories are based on how risky the assets are deemed to be Higher risk asset requires a higher risk weight, while the low risk asset receive lower risk weights, requiring banks to allocate more capital against them. Example, a very small percentage of even 0% even can be the risk weight assigned to low risk assets, while cash or government security. This suggests that banks just need to put a little amount of cash down on these assets because these are secure. Government security are more secure. So in case government is going for this, so the banks are going for this, then it is more secure. Depending on their perceived risk, high risk assets such as the business loan, unsecured consumer loans, or derivatives may have risk weights of up to 150%. As a result, bank need to set aside more capital to protect themselves from future losses on these assets. What is the RBI's position on unsecured loans and why it is necessary? Range risk weights in response to banks' exposure to specific categories like as consumer loans, credit and receivables, and NBFC. The RBI has increased the risk weight on these exposures. The risk weights on credit cards have climbed to 150% from 125%, and those on unsecured personal loans and consumer durable loans from banks have increased to 125% from 100%. That means this is an increase. Additionally, the NBFC unsecured credit cards, consumer durable loans, and personal loans now have risk weights of 125% against 100%. That means the risk in all these loans have been increased in the recent time. Okay. So, additionally, the NBFC's unsecured credit cards, consumer durable loans, and personal loans now have risk weights of 125% instead of 100%. This implies that in order to protect themselves from future losses stemming from these particular loan categories, banks and other financial institutions must set aside additional capital. The RBI has, however, exempted microfinance loans by NBFC from the risk weight increase. Okay. Okay. So this implies that in order to protect themselves from future losses stemming from these particular loans categories, bank and other financial institutions must set aside additional capital. Okay. The RBI has, however, exempted microfinance loans by NBFC from the risk weight increase because microfinance provides small loans. Okay. So microfinance are they give less loan. So here the risk-weighted asset is comparatively capital risk-weighted asset is comparatively less. So microfinance institutions have been exempted by the RBI from the NBFC have been exempted from this capital adequacy that risk-weighted asset loan for the NBFC given to the microfinance sector. Reason for such a step in change unchecked growth, in charge unchecked growth, unsecured loans, particularly those for consumers, have been growing at a faster rate than less hazardous lending assets. There may be threat to the financial system stability as a result of the unrestrained growth. Okay. So, in charge unchecked growth, unsecured loans, particularly those for consumers, have been growing at a faster rate than less hazardous lending assets. They may be threat to the financial system stability as a result of this unrestrained growth. Due to the lack of collateral, these loans carry a high risk for the lenders. In the event that borrowers miss payment on these loans because of personal financial difficulty or economic downturn, bank and other lending organizations may suffer large credit losses because they are unsecured loans in case due to some reason or other. Okay, risk mitigation, the RBI seek to make consumer loans from bank, credit card companies, and NBFC, non-banking financial companies, more capital intensive for financial institutions by raising the risk weight on these loans. By bringing the capital requirement into line with the risk involved, this help make it costlier for lenders to grant these kinds of loans. Stop risk from growing, having procedure for these advances that are overseen by the word guarantee that bank have appropriate risk assessment system in place. The goal of this action is to stop the risk associated with the unsecured retail lending from growing. Maintain financial stability. The major objective is to keep the banking and financial sector safe from a systematic risk by correcting the imbalance in lending practices and making sure that the fast expansion of unsecured consumer loans does not affect them. What is the state of unsecured credit for bank at the moment? With the exception of microfinance organization, only 5 to 13% of the large bank overall loan are secured. Only 5 to 13%. Additionally, banks receive another 5 to 12% of their total loan volume from NBFC. Okay, that is through the NBFC they do this. Okay, analyst estimate indicate that industrial bank has the lowest percentage of entire impacted book, 10% among large banks, with NBFC and unsecured loans accounting for 15 to 20% of the total. That means they have ventured more to the market and issue the unsecured loans more and more. SBI card is the NBFC that impacted because all of its loans are unsecured. Bajaj Finance comes in second with 38% of the total loan amount coming from unsecured loans, followed by Aditya Birla Capital 20% of its loan portfolio coming from unsecured consumer loans. But Bajaj Finance like company are the most important players in the market. Okay, okay. So, with effect, what effect will this change happen on NBFC and banks? Effect on borrowing cost. A result of these legislative changes, customer may see an increase in lending rates. Corporate bond may be impacted by banks' increased lending rates to non-banking financial institutions, which would result in higher yields and wider credit spread for these organizations. Okay, and able to handle systemic hazards associated with this type of lending. It is anticipated that the increased capital requirement will restrain the expansion of unsecured loans and maybe mitigate the systemic risk connected to them. The way ahead, reevaluating the risk methods and lending procedures for unsecured loans may be necessary for bank and NBFCs. They might concentrate more on evaluating creditworthiness and take into account different approaches to risk management in order to keep making loans. To counteract the effect of higher risk weighting on unsecured loans, financial institutions may diversify their loan portfolio by concentrating more on secured lending or looking into other creditworthy areas. Okay. Then the next topic, recognizing the impact of climate change on health. Examining the impact of climate change on India's health is crucial as the nation prepare for the 20th Conference of the Party to the United Nations Global Convention on Climate Change (UNFCCC) COP28. India's health system on climate change. India's population is especially susceptible to negative effect of climate threat on health because of our country's subpar healthcare services. Health is directly impacted by climate change, which increases illness and mortality. Indirect effect includes decreased working hours, increased stress caused by the climate, and altered nutrition. In the Paris Agreement, all countries committed to limiting global warming to 1.5 degrees centigrade. It is obvious that we felt the greatest temperature and heat wave in the record history occurred in 2023. Extreme heat, cyclones, and floods are examples of climate change crisis that are predicted to happen more frequently. These will exacerbate health issues and interfere with the livelihood and food security of the people around the world. Okay. So extreme heat, cyclone, and flood are example of climate crisis that are predicted to happen more frequently. These will exacerbate health issues and interfere in livelihood and food security of the people. So India being such a vast country, and these climate conditions or these natural calamity due to climates are becoming more and more frequent, and intensity is increasing. So okay. Then double burden. Climate change could exacerbate India's dual morbidity burden from non-communicable diseases and communicable illness, because through the climate change, rising temperature, communicable diseases increase, so also non-communicable diseases. Additionally, it modifies a pathogen's pathogenicity. Okay. It might encourage the development of vector like tick, sandflies, mosquitoes, and other as yet unidentified ones, and alter the seasonality of infection by altering their life cycle. Additionally, it might make it easier for illness and vector to spread to formerly uninhabited area like the Himalaya states where mosquitoes are found. Okay, so they will. Okay, so it might encourage the development of vector like tick, sandfly, mosquito, and other. as yet unidentified ones and alter the sustainability of infection by altering their life cycle. Additionally, it might make it easier for illness and vectors to spread to formerly uninhabited areas where they are not. Vulnerability to illness is increased by decreased food and water availability as well as decreased food. Okay, so vulnerability to illness is increased by decreased food and water availability. Okay, so as well as decreased food and nutritional content. Flood are a common trigger for epidemics, but prolonged warm weather also encourages the growth of food and waterborne infection and illness. The effect of climate change on the NDC, okay, and mental health, both of which are non-NDC stand for non-communicable diseases, and mental health, both of which are inadequately treated in India, are less widely acknowledged. Kidney injuries, which are on the rise in India, the result of uncontrolled diabetes, can be caused by heat, physical activity, and dehydration, all conditions that labor must constantly deal with. Increased and prolonged exposure to air pollution aggravates chronic obstructive pulmonary diseases. A climate emergency is almost always accompanied with a post-traumatic stress disorder and depression, which are made worse by the stress caused by the weather shift. Urban India and the climate change. India is rapidly and unplannedly becoming more urbanized. Urban heat island effect with asphalt roads, heat retaining the called the blacktop roads. Asphalt road means the roads built with the coal tar, the blacktop roads, heat retaining buildings that physically obstruct air circulation, and a lack of greenery and open space to buffer against climate change. Urban regions suffer the hardest consequences. Rural areas nearby are cooler than urban areas, especially at night. The already fragile urban primary health system is further burdened by climate changes in addition to the negative consequences of air pollution. Physically inactive urban design and stress from the workplace and culture. Way forward mitigation efforts, assessing the burden and comprehending the direct and indirect ways that climate. Okay, assessing the burden and comprehending the direct and indirect ways that climate change affects health. At the first step in this process, the health information system are not currently changed to collect this information. The impact can be mitigated by implementing social assistance and health service systems as socioeconomic factors have a significant influence. Better urban design, more green space, water conservation, and public health initiatives will all require. Okay. Assessing the burden and comprehending the direct and indirect way that climate change affects health are the first step in the process. The health information system are not currently changed to collect this information. The impact can be mitigated by implementing social assistance and health service systems as socioeconomic factors have a significant influence. Better urban design, more green space, water conservation, and public health initiatives will all require more extensive action, not only for health but for numerous health factors as well. Global, regional, and local action are required to combat climate change. The best location for intervention will be determined by the pathways and effect of climate change. In order to do this, India must acknowledge the issue of climate change and its effect on health is one that both requires and can be addressed. So, in conclusion, decision to take action on the research-generated policy alternative rests with the federal, state, and local government. Meaningful change is only likely to occur when the three streams of problematization, policy choices, and political decision making comes together. So this need to be strengthened further, more and more, to get the best result out of it. Next topic is the atmospheric probe experiment. NASA is set to launch the atmospheric probe experiment to study the air globe to understand space weather. About the atmospheric probe experiment, it is a first of its kind NASA experimental attempt aimed at studying the interaction between terrestrial and space weather. It is planned under the NASA's Heliophysics Explorers program. This mission will study the link between how waves in the lower layer of the atmosphere impact the upper atmosphere and thus space weather. It will be launched and mounted on the exterior of the Earth orbiting International Space Station, the ISS. From the vantage point, it will look down at the Earth and record the colorful light bands, commonly known as the air glow. The new NASA mission will try to understand the combination of forces that drive the space weather in the upper atmosphere. It will measure the air glow at mesoscopes about 82, 85 to 87 km of the Earth's surface, where the atmospheric temperature dipped to minus 100 degrees Celsius. At this latitude, it is possible to capture the faint air glow on the infrared bandwidth, which appear to be the brightest, enabling easy detection. It will be able to resolve waves at finer horizontal scale than what satellite can usually see at those altitudes, which is part of what makes the mission unique. The health of the ionosphere, whose lower layers sit at the edge of the space, is important for maintaining seamless communication. What will NASA's AWE do? It will perform focus mapping of the colorful air globe in the Earth atmosphere. On board that air globe is an advanced mesospheric temperature mapper. Okay, an instrument that will scan or map the mesopause and region between the mesosphere and the thermosphere. Using the four identical telescopes comprising an imaging radiometer. Okay. So this information can then be converted into a temperature map, which could reveal the air glow movement and ultimately give clue on their role in the upper atmosphere and space weather. What is an air glow? It is a faint luminescence of the Earth's upper atmosphere that is caused by air molecules and atoms, selective absorbers of solar radioviolet and X radiations. Most of their glow emanates from the region about 50 to 300 kilometers above the surface of the Earth, with the brightest area concentrated at altitude around 97 kilometers in the higher altitude. The tantalum recently, a team of researchers from the Indian Institute of Technology, ROPAR, found the presence of tantalum, a rare metal in the Suraj in the Satluj River sand in Punjab. About tantalum, it is a rare metal with the atomic number 73, the number of protons found in one atom of the element. The rare metal has been named after a Greek mythological figure, Tantalus. Properties: it's grey, heavy, very hard, and one of the most corrosion resistant metal in use today. It possesses high corrosion resistance because when exposed to air, it forms an oxide layer that is extremely difficult to remove, even when it interacts with strong and hot acidic environments. When pure tantalum is ductile, meaning it can be stretched, pulled, or drawn into a thin wire or thread without breaking. It is almost completely immune to chemical attack by temperature below 150 degree centigrade and is attacked only by hydrochloric acid, acidic solutions containing the chloride, iron, and free sulfur oxides. It also has an extremely high melting point, exceeded only by tungsten and rhenium. When it is placed in the midst of acids, it is incapable of taking any of them off. Application is most prominently used in the electronic sector. The capacitors made from tantalum are capable of storing more electricity in small sizes without much leakage than any other type of capacitor. This makes them ideal for use in portable electronic devices such as smartphones, laptop, and digital cameras. As the tantalum has a high melting point, it is frequently used as a substitute for platinum, which is more expensive. The rare metal is also used to make a component for chemical plants, nuclear power plants, aeroplanes, and missiles. It does not react with bodily fluids and is used to make surgical equipment and implant like artificial joints. A composite consisting of tantalum carbide and graphite is one of the hardest metals known and is used on the cutting edge of high speed machine tools. Okay. Naval ship, Naval Anti-Ship Missile Short Range, NASMSR. The Indian Navy, associated with the DRDO, successfully undertook guided flight trial of the first indigenously developed naval anti-ship missile short range from a Sea King 442B helicopter recently. It is the first indigenous air-launched anti-ship cruise missile developed for the Indian Navy. They are developed by the DRDO. It can launch from attack helicopters. This missile will replace the Sea Eagle missile, which are currently in use with the Navy. This is a better version. With the Sea King helicopters also being phased out, it is expected that the NASMSR will be used with the new HM60R multi-role helicopters, which are being inducted to the Navy. The missile's new guidance system includes a state-of-the-art navigation system and integrated avionics. It employs several new technology, including an indigenously developed launcher for the helicopter. With a strike range of around 60 kilometers, the air-launched anti-ship missile can travel at a speed of zero point 0.8 Mach, slower than the speed of sound. It could have an imaging infrared sticker which would home in on the heat emission of its target. It can have a warhead of 100 kg and is capable of sinking petrol boats and damaging larger warship of the enemy. The NASR on approach to its target can cruise at just 5 meters above sea level, making it difficult for enemy radars to detect, track, and shoot down surface to air missiles or guns. This low level capability of anti-ship missile is known as sea skimming. That means it will just swim above the sea level at 5 meters, which will be beyond the detection capacity of the enemy radar, and it will not be able to destroy it by the. Okay. Then the Sathi portal, Minister of Education recently said they would write to all states to encourage aspirant to utilize the newly launched portal for exam preparation for the Sathi self-assessment test and help for entrance exams. It is a new initiative by the Minister of Education to provide a free learning and assessment platform for students. The Sathi features preparation material for entrance exams including the JEE and NET, video solutions in the regional languages for entrance exams, JEE and NET exam preparation ideas for beginners, students' stories of struggles and achievement, solved with me sessions, motivational sessions and assessment platform for the students. The platform will have videos made by the faculty members of IIT, IISc, or the Indian Institute of Science to help students prepare for the competitive examinations. The video could also help students learn concept and revise topics. It makes use of an indigenously developed AI program called the Pruto, which was developed by the IIT Kanpur for this particular purpose. Then the whole or black spotted croaker, Gujarat declared gold species as the state fish at the Global Fishery Conference India 2023. Goldfish is widely distributed in Indian Pacific from Persian Gulf to Pacific Ocean. Its swims bladders are large, highly priced because of their medicinal and commercial value. It is exported to countries of Southeast Asia, Hong Kong, Singapore, and Malaysia. So to prepare rinsing glass, a form of collagen used mainly for the clarification of wine and beer. Traditional medicine believed to prevent bleeding in patients with urinary problems and cosmetics. Then come to the question: what does emotional intelligence mean to you? Prove its importance in the civil services. According to Mayer and Salobi, emotional intelligence is the capacity to recognize emotions, evaluate and produce emotion to support cognition, comprehend emotions and emotional knowledge, and effectively control emotion to foster both intellectual and emotional development. Emotional intelligence, to put it simply, is the ability to control one's emotion in order to improve one's life and to comprehend how others feel. Okay, this is most important requirement for the civil servant. Significance of emotional intelligence in civil service. Today, civil service operate in a setting plagued by a plethora of issues, difficulties, and even paradox, including rapidly evolving societal structure and value, growing economic, digital, and regional divide, as well as increasing unemployment and population, inadequate access to basic amenities such as clean drinking water, housing and infrastructure, growing public awareness of the issue, and the existence of a sizable population of improvised people who lack a voice and are marginalized. Numerous issues plug the administration itself, including political pressures, widespread corruption, antiquated policies, procedures and regulations, a lack of growth opportunities, excessive centralization, self-aggrandizement, and more. Emotional intelligence application is beneficial in the following ways. It is essential for leading a productive group or company. emotionally intelligent administrators are able to empathize with other and grow in their interpersonal abilities, which are essential for effective citizen-centered administration. Enhance ability to manage workplace changes, stress and strain, and conflict. That will be perceived by this. The capacity to perceive perceive the enduring consequences of one's behavior and mischief and mindset also. Higher degree of dedication, reliability, and diligence. Possessing a comprehensive perspective, the capacity to overcome obstacles and be upbeat, locating constructive method to deal with intense or negative emotions, greater passion for achievement, initiative, perseverance, and inspiring other better communication skill, improve group dynamics in terms of cooperation, collaboration, and forming bonds. Improve leadership qualities such as the understanding of when and how to take the lead, as well as when to follow, the capacity to negotiate in a win-win manner, and the capacity to recognize variety and the worth of others. The capacity to handle several things at once because of improved information and time management. Increased attention aware of office politics but not overly swayed by them. Not easily agitated. The capacity to spark change. Conclusion. To summarize, emotional skill have gained foothold in the public service and are essential for good administrative practice and customer service. So emotional okay, emotional intelligence. So AI has been used successfully in many public and private sector organizations. US Air Force, US Navy, Johnson and Johnson, HPCL, to mention a few. So they have used emotional intelligence and to their advantage have used it. So this can be well integrated in the civil servant to make the administration more people friendly and have empathy for the people than sympathy for them. Then come to the MCQs. Recently, the AWE mission was in news. It learns to study the space weather. Consider the following statement about the NASM missile. It is the first indigenous air lance anti-ship cruise missile developed for the Indian Navy, right? With a strike range of 60 kilometers, the air lance anti-ship missile can travel at a speed of Mach 3. This is wrong. Mach 0 0.8 speed is. Only one is correct, that means 2 is incorrect. So B is the right answer because the incorrect is 2. One web project can be best described as a worldwide universal and low cost space based internet service. So A is the right answer. Consider the following statement regarding the tantalum metal. It is a rare metal with the atomic number of 113. Tantalum, uh, atomic number is not 11373. It is grey, heavy, very hard, and one of the most corrosion resistance metal used today. Right, when pure, tantalum is highly brittle and hence cannot be used to make wires and threads. Only two is correct, and one and three are incorrect. So how many are correct here? The only two is correct. So one is correct. So only one because option one, option three are incorrect. Consider the following statement about the Sathi portal. It initiates the NITI to provide a pre-learning and assessment platform for students. So, incorrect in education. It makes use of indigenous developed AI program called Proctor, which was developed by IIT Kanpur, right? It will help students gain access to training and coaching for complete examination for free. 2 and 3 are correct. Two, only two, because one is incorrect. Consider the following statement regarding the Brahmani River. It is an east flowing river in the peninsula of India. In the peninsular India, right? Major part of the basin lies in Andhra Pradesh. So this is wrong. So only one is correct. The Shivpuri Wildlife Sanctuary is located in Madhya Pradesh. C. Then exercise Ostrahind 2022 is recently held between India and Australia. Okay. Then which of the 5-year plan mentioned below the faster and more inclusive growth? First one is the 11th plan. Advisory jurisdiction of Supreme Court in India, Constitution is taken from which of the following sources? And from the Canadian Constitution. So thank you for watching. Keep watching regularly.